Welcome back. Hardly Working, ESPN 950 and Sports FM 100.5. Greg is out, as I mentioned in the first segment, but that doesn't mean that we are working any harder than we normally would. Nope, we're slacking off just to the same level, just to keep Greg happy. Andrew Wallace filling in for you. And we're going to take a minute right now to talk a little bit about racing. We're going to talk about the upcoming race at VIR, which is going to be on August 26th. Actually, it's going to be a couple of days. The Michelin GT Challenge, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. And we're joined now by a Virginia Tech alum, so give him a good welcome. Sam Barnett. Sam, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Happy to talk about the race. And just leading things off with the local angle, we know you're a Virginia Tech guy. You're from Charlottesville. I got to ask the obvious question. How does that come about? How does a Charlottesville native get down to Virginia Tech and get that BS and business information technology?
That's a great question. I'm actually originally from Reno, Nevada, and I loved it there and kind of got dragged across the country to Charlottesville. I think I never really got over my resentment for being dragged across the country, so my first opportunity to be a rebel and go over to Virginia Tech, I took that opportunity, and I'm glad I did because I had a wonderful experience.
Well, we know the race is going to be coming up at the end of August. Just go ahead and run through the track at VIR, what you're going to be dealing with. And obviously, I see that drivers are going to be reaching top speeds of 190 miles an hour. It's a 3-hour race. So what do you make of the track at VIR? Have you been on it before?
VIR is actually my home track, and it is an amazing track in many ways. First of all, it is like a country club atmosphere. There's beautiful grass and trees and everywhere. You wouldn't even know it was a racetrack until you saw the cars going by. It's really nice. So people that aren't even into racing just find the environment to be wonderful to spend time at. But the track itself is a world-class road course. It's one of the best in North America. And for those that don't know, a road course is similar to you see in some of those video games. We turn left and right, and in the case of VIR, we actually go uphill, downhill, about 130 feet of different elevation change. So it's kind of like a roller coaster, and it's got 17 turns, so there's always something going on.
Yeah, 3.27-mile track. You talked about the turns, which to me, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I like racing. I'm not paying nose to the Twitter feed, nose to the TV in terms of racing. So I enjoy watching a more diverse track in that aspect. And it's listed as by some drivers as one of the most challenging and intimidating courses in North America. You would, I assume, have it up there as well?
VIR is extremely technical. It's very fast in parts, and there's some slower sections too. It's got a wide variety, some uphill S's, some downhill S's, some long straightaways. We get to some really high speeds. I'll be racing in the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup, which is one of the classes that we'll be racing along with a couple others. The difference between ours and the IMSA series and the Michelin GT series is that we are all one make. We are all 2016 Mazda MX-5 Miatas out there.
I see the MX-5 Cup is a bit of a mix when it comes to drivers, too, as well. It's a lot of prospects who are also racing alongside some established veterans. Talk about that element. What does that do to a race when you have a lot of guys out there who are looking to prove themselves, who are mixing it up with a group of guys who really know what they're doing and have a lot of seasoned experience on their hand?
It's a really interesting experience. It's a very unique class in that every car is completely identical. And not only are they the same brand, model, year, but they're all built by Mazda, and everything is locked down. The engine, transmission, differential, you can't touch them. So everyone's on a level playing field, which makes it very exciting. But as you referenced, the different experience levels make it interesting as well. We have people that have, decades of experience, and those, some people that only have a season or two out there. So it makes for some speed differentiations based on that. But it is designed to be all talent-based. It's not an engineering exercise. It's all driver.
Speaking with Sam Barnett, who will be racing at the Michelin GT Challenge, of course, participating in the Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by BFGoodrich. If you want information on that, head to www.virnow.com or call 434-822-TIKS. Tickets are $40 for Friday only, $45 Saturday only, $55 Sunday only. You get 2-day bundles for $65 and 3-day for $75. Sam, talking about some of your accolades, I see that not only are you a amazing racer, but you're an accomplished bowler as well. So you've been bowling since the age of 5, and you've won a Charlotte City tournament. You've got a high of 299. Obviously, you're a pro racer. If I asked you which one you'd pick, I assume you would pick racing. But is there anything from bowling that you can translate to your game when it comes to being behind the wheel?
Surprisingly enough, there are a lot of commonalities between bowling and racing, namely the surfaces. So you're dealing in bowling with a surface, and you're trying to use different bowling balls and things like that to adjust to the oil. Bowling's all about the oil. The difference between that is that you can't see it whatsoever, and you have to base your feel based on watching your ball react, whereas on a race car, you can feel track conditions changing and things like that, with your car and you being attached to it. So really, you're constantly trying to get the most grip out of a track, and on a bowling lane, you're trying to get the most grip so you can get the most hook and hit the pocket with the most impact. So, like I said, surprisingly, it's very interesting that the two overlap quite a bit.
That's funny because speaking of grip and tracks and courses, I see you have 42 of your 68 race wins in wet conditions. So you really maximize on the wet course. Talk about what it feels like knowing that you kind of have maybe that advantage over some other racers. When things get wet, you don't panic, you seize the situation, and you make the best out of that condition.
I really embrace it when it rains out, and you're right. A lot of people at the racetrack, when the rain comes down, they joke that NASCAR doesn't race in the rain, and they joke. I've seen some things online. What's the NASCAR setup for the rain? And they show the car up on jack stands. But for us, the setup is to put rain tires on and then go out there. Obviously, there's a limit eventually where you can't go, but we can handle quite a bit of rain, and especially the BFGoodrich tires that we use are incredible rain tires. And it's almost like being dry out there. They grip so much in the wet. They put so much research into trying to find a way to make them have grip that it really does feel almost like a dry track. But the low grip condition really is a car control skill that you need to have, and you can really tell who the drivers are when it gets wet, because any advantages that you have with regards to a car that's faster, that goes away because you can't put the power down. So say someone has 10 more horsepower than you. If it's raining, you're pretty much all even, and now it's, okay, who can control their car the best? And I really like that option.
How did you develop that car control skill? I know, to just kind of relate to the average listener, especially in Richmond, things get a little rainy around here, Sam, and everyone just panics and drives a lot slower, especially when snow comes. People don't know how to handle that. How do you develop technique to drive on tougher conditions?
Great question. With regards to driving in the rain, I've always tried to find a way to put my car into a skid as opposed to waiting for it to skid. For example, if you were to jump onto an ice rink and not realize that it was ice, you would fall. But if you knew there was ice, you would jump on it and get ready to slide. And that's really the same way you can go about rain racing, is actually intentionally make yourself start sliding, because then it's a controlled slide.
Last one for you, Sam. I see you're a rock enthusiast, a punk enthusiast like myself. I saw a quote from the lead singer, Max Collins, from Eve 6 that was complimenting you. The quote was, "The universe rewards those who are audacious and put themselves out there." Sam is one of these people. I respect his willingness to go out there and get things done. Is that based off a relationship you have with Max? Have you met him? Are you a fan of the band? Talk a little bit about your love of punk rock.
Ever since Nirvana Nevermind came out in 1991, my life changed. I kind of divide my life into two parts, before Nevermind and after Nevermind. And all the music followed: Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Silverchair, Alice in Chains. All those really just changed my entire life and the way I look at music. And E6 was one of those bands that came by a little bit later. I had the opportunity through a charity event that I was at in Hollywood that was actually hosted by one of the members of The Offspring, who I was also friends with. We ended up meeting in Los Angeles. We had connected on social media and ended up meeting up for lunch and found that we had a lot in common, and we just kind of started talking. There was a mutual interest in cars and things like that. And we both ended up I ended up getting invited to do an interview on Playboy Television, and I just showed up with them as a surprise, and we had a really great interview together, and we kind of complimented each other and had a lot of fun. So we've kind of been friends ever since.
Check out Sam. Sam Barnett, a part of the Mazda MX-5 Cup. That'll be at VIR on August 26th through the 28th as a part of the Michelin GT Challenge. Sam, thank you so much for joining us on Hardly Working.
Thanks for having me.
All right, once again, now Sam Barnett. He will be in the area in about a month racing those Mazdas, of course, presented by BFGoodrich Tires. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to do some head turners and head scratchers, and then around 4:40, we're going to be joined by CSN Nationals Chase Hughes. Chase is going to break things down and talk about this road trip as the Nationals are headed to play the Indians. You're listening to Hardly Working on ESPN 950 and Sports FM 100.5.
Hardly Working with Greg Burton on ESPN 950 and the new Sports FM 100.5 is presented by Midas of Richmond.